अस्सलाम वालेकुम सर, कैसे हैं आप?
Walaikum Assalam. Thank you so much for hosting.
वेलकम सर। फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल सर, थैंक यू वेरी मच, आपने आज टाइम निकाला फॉर अस फॉर द कम्युनिटी, और वी आर वेरी हैप्पी टू हैव यू ऑन बोर्ड सर। खुशामदीद सर।
Thank you so much for hosting. I'm glad to be here.
थैंक यू वेरी मच सर। अच्छा सर, हम लोग कुछ डिस्कशन इस तरह से करते हैं कि हम लोग की जो टाइमलाइन है वो हम स्टार्ट करते हैं एनईडी की लाइफ से, एंड देन ग्रेजुअली वी ट्राई टू एंगेज के जो हमारे एनईडी के जो फेमस कोलीग्स हैं जिन्होंने लाइफ में कुछ अचीव किया है, उन्होंने किस तरह से अपनी लाइफ को पैटर्नाइज किया और किस तरह से चले हैं, और कैसे आगे मूव करके जो चीज़ अचीव करनी की है वो कैसे और किस किस वजह से की है, तो उसी पैटर्न से हम बात करेंगे। तो स्टार्ट करते हैं योर लाइफ इन एनईडी सर। बताइएगा सर अपने बारे में थोड़ा कि कब आपने ज्वाइन किया, कैसे ज्वाइन किया एनईडी को, फिर वो 4 साल थे वो कैसे गुजरे? क्या वो 4 साल ही थे या 5-6 साल लगे आपको? किस तरह का आइडिया, थोड़ा-सा आइडिया दें, और ये भी बताएँ कि क्या माहौल था उस वक़्त एनईडी का? क्या शहर का क्या माहौल था उस वक़्त? थोड़ा-सा अपने मतलब लेट्स सी के पास्ट में क्या हुआ था आपके साथ?
Absolutely. So we joined in 87, 88 batch. As you can tell, 87, 88 means it was mixed, right? Karachi mein, I think there were some troubles already building up. So, but nevertheless, we started NED. It was a big thing, a big dream come true to actually get into, that was the only primary institute. So everyone used to strive to get there. I was in Adamji college before that. So a lot of my friends and actually from there actually got into NED. So it was a very happy moment. NED may, as you asked, yes, I think because as you know, the city situation and turmoil and the politics that was going on, we had annual system. I don't know what system there is now, but there was annual system at that time. So it took us, of course, longer than 4.5 years, but we still like cherish NED's time, primarily because of the people that came into it, the students that came into it. They were extremely talented, extremely bright, very entrepreneurial, because it was in adversity that you actually had to study, right? I mean, it's not necessarily कि आपके पास कहाँ की best labs हैं या best facilities हैं. Yes, there were some very, very good teachers who were committed to actually teach at NED. But the primary thing was कि जो students थे, they were very bright and they were actually willing to help each other. There was a lot of self-learning and there was a lot of passion. And we happened to be in a time that there was a revolution without we knowing there was a revolution of computing kind of going on. So you just happened to be born and be in a place where computing revolution was kind of about to take off. DOS, disk operating system was there, and of course Microsoft was kind of ramping up. They existed for a much longer time, but a lot of innovation actually had to come. So it was just a perfect time to be there. And I was in EE, but the EE and CS, you had a lot of things in actually common. So you built a lot of relationships, not just आपके अपने batch में, but WCS में there was so much common that we all used to kind of hang out together. And I think that's the way I think I look at it. In fact, a lot of learnings that I have, they go back to NED, in which without having much of means at hand, much of facilities at hand, much of structure at hand, how can you actually still, learn and
Sure,
thrive?
sir. So speaking about the competitiveness, sir, and you said that there was a lot of competitiveness at that time, and so there was a business environment at that time as well कि entrepreneurship को encourage किया जाता था, क्योंकि because the later time that we have seen NED, entrepreneurship से related या इस तरह से related चीजें इतनी ज्यादा हम लोगों ने नहीं देखी। तो आपने अपने टाइम पे देखी, कोई खास particular वजह थी कि आपका ऐसा माइंड था या फिर आपको यूनिवर्सिटी में इसका बूस्ट दिया जाता था?
आई थिंक एंटरप्रेन्योर का वर्ड इस्तेमाल नहीं हुआ था कभी, मेरे ख्याल वहाँ पे ऐसे जैसे आजकल होता है.
Okay.
अभी तो incubators
Yes.
हैं and
Yes.
awareness है. बड़ी अच्छी बात है. I mean, I go to NED, I went to NED. For the current company, actually, we try to recruit a lot of people from NED. And then for that reason, of course, I understand how the system works. Entrepreneurship to abhi is the thing right now. It wasn't there. But at the heart of art, students were entrepreneurs there, literally. I mean, without knowing the word, they were very entrepreneurial, right? कि अगर आपके पास facilities नहीं है, teacher नहीं है, lab नहीं है, computer नहीं है, how still you would go get a photocopy of the book, which is more expensive. You'll get a photocopy of a book, and you'll still cram through it. You'll still figure it out. Okay, how do you share some computer? Because there's only one computer lab, and they didn't have computers in it, much of computers in it. So
CD-ROM भी नहीं होगी उस जमाने में तो floppy disk होगी maybe.
It was definitely floppy disk. Yeah.
Floppy disk.
So,
okay.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, there were some, not microsystems were there, but there were labs with very archaic systems were there, and you never got access to it. So the main thing was it was very entrepreneurial environment where students would do things that you now call entrepreneurial, right? And then there were projects that you would do that were absolutely world class that you can actually sell. If you knew how to sell it, you can actually sell those systems. In fact, one of the earlier projects in the very first year of NED, which I did with my, in fact, he was the primary kind of developer in there. Tanveer, we built the first antivirus system, literally the very first antivirus system.
आपके class fellow थे? You were mate?
My batchmate. My batchmate, yes,
okay.
From CS, right? So together we worked on that. He was.
And you were not in the CS. You were the electrical from the electrical engineering department. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the point really being, didn't know what you were building was actually people will build companies on it. Companies like McAfee didn't exist, and we were building antivirus software. Literally, very first virus actually came from Pakistan by the C-Brain, and we built like anti-brain kind of the antivirus for it. Now you'll call it entrepreneurial yes. At that time, but that was like 18-year-old kids, 19-year-old kids trying to build it and trying to sell it. We tried to sell it, but at that time, I can tell you, software licensing had, no enforcement in Pakistan. So you really couldn't really make any business out of it, at least at that time, right? Everything got copied. But a lot of things that you learn from the NED, it got embedded in you in some fashion and really formed your life over time. So NED has a lot of role to play. Yeah. In fact, if you were to ask me, in some ways, if NED actually had a very strict structure, a lot of people may not have thrived. The way they thrived. I mean, my batch, there are people who have built amazing companies, right? In my batch, some people have done amazing work. And I'm not sure they would be the same if they didn't go through NED experience, because there was almost kind of no structure in some ways. Whether you want to go to class, don't want to go to class, it's fine. I mean, nobody's going to kill you for that. As long as you get through it. Doesn't mean they were not, they were careless people. It's just that they were following their passion. If you like computer science, certain subjects more, you would just go so deep into it, right? That maybe the other subjects you don't like. In a lot of institutes, that's just not practical, right? You have to maintain your GPA to a certain level and all that. And there's so much structure that comes along with it. So I think.
So when you build antivirus, have you ever thought about it that maybe I'm going to build a business, maybe not through the antivirus, but did you thought about this at that time that no, one day I will not be a regular guy who will be doing like jobs in any multinational company? I will just build up your own. When this thought process really came in your mind?
I think it was since that time. Yeah, it was
during university time. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I think in the back of your mind, you already knew that you want to build something. Whether you build it as part of a large organization or build yourself, perhaps didn't matter early on, but it was right. You wanted to really create value since that time, right? Or even before that. I would say NED probably opened the eyes more than anything before that, because before that, the way the Pakistan system works is that you actually have to get into those institutes. If you don't have GPAs or grades, then it's game over anyways, because there were just one NED and there was one South college, right? So, which means that focus before that was get your grades to a certain level so you can get into these schools. Like uske baad, it wasn't really things. Still the grade would be fine, but it wasn't the driver. It was about following your passion.
Okay, right? So let's move forward, sir. When you talk about business itself, like then you move towards the States. I see your profile that you did masters in the States. So when you talk about business, and then you talk about masters and going outside the country, is it contradictory?
No, not contradictory at all.
Because once you see it about entrepreneurship or business mindset, they just go immediately.
Yeah, I think it's not necessarily. So question is what you want to build, right? And whether you want to fully understand the dynamics, right? And when the ecosystem is going to facilitate that to you, right? So main thing is, first of all, Pakistan environment at that time was that if you're a good student and you come out of NED, you're going to get to a corporate job, pushing paper essentially, So I did get one of those jobs. Soon enough, realized that I want to build things, not necessarily just do things, in a corporate environment there. And realization was that I really want to build something more technology oriented, because you can still create value by building a variety of different kind of businesses, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's just that what you like to do. And then the realization that was that there's a lot more to learn, right? If you really want to build something which is world class, there is a lot more to learn, and there's a path to it. And then, which was the driver of actually going for graduate school, coming to Purdue here, and certainly an eye opener, because the kind of things that get done, the labs there, the project that happened on the campus, is really an eye opener. And by accident, I happened to be in Silicon Valley. It was just sheer luck, right? Because I didn't fully understand the power of Silicon Valley. Maybe I didn't even understand what Silicon Valley is, because certain people have the privilege to know. I probably didn't have the privilege to actually understand that. But when I came here, it was as if like it was meant to be, right? Because you had always had this kind of a back of your mind that you're going to build something, and you land in a place where it's a land of builders, essentially, right? And I think that I joined a company called Sun Microsystems. It was kind of phenomenal.
So before we go towards Sun Microsystem, talking about masters itself, why United States? Sure. Why not any other country?
I think
कोई cousins वगैरह थे या कुछ थे या opportunity थी?
No, nothing at all. I think in my mind, only few other countries actually have education institutes at that time, I would say, that actually offered a platform which you could, go deep into the research of that you want to do, or deep into the area that you want to investigate, and follow on. There's an environment around it where there are companies around where you can actually go build things. There are very few companies. Even if at that time, this is back in '98 or so, most of the interesting companies were here. Most of the interesting companies which were building some compute-oriented infrastructure and all, they were here. Software they were building, and security.
And which companies were like Microsoft and like IBM and Apple? You were hearing about these names at that time?
I mean, look at that, right? Look at if you were programming on a computer, either you're programming an Intel processor, right? And either you're have a DOS operating system, or you have Solaris at that time, and you have all the compute of like IBM and IBM compatible systems used to be, as they be called. So I think certainly it's not that the other places which don't have similar opportunity to felt like that this is a place to actually come. Now, no question, there are some amazing other countries which have amazing institutes, but it felt like this is the place I should be going. No other reason. I would say maybe awareness was more here, and education institutes actually here are more open. I do have to say they are a lot more open. They understand they have to attract the talent, and they give you scholarships. They give you all kinds of facilities. When I came here, the story is very, very similar.
Did you got any scholarships, sir, at that time?
Yeah. I mean, I won't be able to go through the whole experience of the school. Of course, my parents did whatever they could. I mean, I could eternally grateful for what they did to actually send you off here with enough to actually go through a semester. But then you don't want to be a burden on your on your parents, right? Because you're one of four. They have three others. So you really want to be on your feet very, very fast. You want to be flying. So yeah. I mean, that was one of the drivers.
Odd job speaking.
Luckily, I did not have to. Luckily, I would say. Luckily, I mean, there's no harm in. There's nothing wrong in doing any odd job. There's nothing good or bad about it. It's just that I wanted to do something, even if I was doing a job that kind of is along the lines of which I'll learn, right? So I got the teaching assistantship, as they call it. You became a kind of a teacher, so to speak, here right away, which is unbelievable that you're going to one of the top schools. Purdue used to be among the top 4 or 5 or 3 actually schools there at that time, and you will be like teaching to the undergrads. So it's and then there's no fee to pay. One of the best schools. There's no fee to pay, and they're paying you money. per month, which if you convert it to, in your back of your mind, everything, or you got converted back to rupees, like how would they be paying me that much? So yeah, I mean, that's other reason for people to actually land here. They do attract,
Sure, sir.
talent.
सर let's move forward. Let's move forward towards आपने कुछ jobs भी starting में की. तो सबसे 2 मिनट तक बताएं, 2 मिनट में बताएं सर कि क्यों अगेन बिजनेस माइंडसेट था, मास्टर्स भी किया आपने, का लर्न किया, लेकिन माइंड था कि बिजनेस करना है. सो व्हाई अगेन 4-5 साल 6 साल मजीद जॉब क्यों की?
So I worked for, again, you have to learn, say, the kind of things you want to do. Think of this way, there was no internet kind of at that time, right? It wasn't that you could build
Okay.
something.
Maybe a dial-up internet. I remember उसमें फोन की तार लगाते थे. हाँ, घर का फोन बंद हो जाता था.
Definitely there was, in that way there was definitely internet. What I meant was, it wasn't, a lot of ecosystem had not established. I think there was a desire to, as I said, desire to build something was more, and desire to learn along the way how do people build it. So I joined Sun Microsystems for that kind of aspect. Plus, you remember that you were on a different visa here. You are on an F1 visa, which is student visa, and then you have to convert to get to H1 visa. Your worries at that time, to be practically honest, is how do you basically get into the system first, and then it's not that you can just go out and say, look, I'm going to do. You can't stay if you don't have the right visa, right? So, which means you have to get to a job. I mean, look, the system is created in a way that if they train you, they want to put you in the workforce first. You get into basically that, but I do have to say, without going through those experiences, those learnings perhaps won't be there. And building complex systems, really, really complex systems at Sun and beyond that, in wireless technologies, you just can't just start by yourself. You actually have to go through the grind.
Okay. Yeah. So got the idea कि masters किया, you took the masters, make sure कि आपके visas वगैरह aligned हैं, तब तक job की, and then you jumped into the business. Why Chorus? That was your first startup?
Yeah, Chorus was the first one. So this was.
Let's talk about the fear in the brain. You know, you have a job, you're doing a job, you're having a paycheck weekly, okay? But then you decide that no, this paycheck is not enough for me, or maybe I don't want this paycheck, I want something else. Talk about the transition, because many people, they are very good in talent, they're still doing job around the world, wherever, maybe from NED, maybe from outside NED, but the fear from getting from the job and to the business, I mean, like, it's a fear to talk. So talk us through this fear. What was your thinking at that time? Who supported you for this decision? How was it?
Yeah, I think you have to be a little naive, right? Because if you really understood the danger of failure, and understood the emotional pain and the loss and losing the money, I think if you have to be naive in the sense that, okay, that you can actually make it happen, and actually the things that you want to do, you have to be so passionate about that your brain has to be just focused on, like, what would the world look like if you actually made that happen, right? What would be your contribution? I think more than just building business, you have to really think, what is your contribution going to be in this planet, right? I mean, when you're living your life, you just look around. It's the so many creators on this planet have built things that have made our lives easier. Look, we're doing streaming, right? It's unbelievable, right? So somebody enabled it. Somebody created this value, and a community of people actually created value. I felt like I want to be in that community that creates.
Speaking about this one, actually, StreamYard, एक teenager है मेरे ख्याल से 18-19 साल का लड़का. I forget the name. Who's doing this job for this StreamYard platform?
There you go. So,
yeah.
So he's created value, right? We're
Yes.
able to actually do this thing, and he's probably he's getting fed to social media networks and all that, right?
Sure.
So I think that was when you are in that mindset that it is really not minutia of losing a paycheck or losing a job. I think you in your mind, you're way above it at that point. I mean, call it naivete. It is maybe that, but once that is there, then you don't look at, like, whether I'm going to die along the process or get hurt, injured and harmed in the process. Your passion is driving you at that point. And then you have to put your heart into it. It's a lot of work and a lot of hard work and a lot of, you go through a lot of turmoil. It's just, there's no straight line on building these businesses, especially as complex as Vychorus.
Okay.
Because you have
So,
to.
sir, you said, sorry, sir. You said about being naive. Okay, थोड़ा risk taker होना चाहिए. लेकिन what about, did you had any angel investor at that time कि Vychorus में start करने लगा हूँ, so I already have this guy who will invest in me, or you already have talked about this कि वो हो, या फिर बिल्कुल you went raw?
No, so before Vychorus, tried few other things, right? But tried it in a way that it was half-hearted.
So there was a gap. So there was a gap between Vychorus and your last job.
Yeah, actually, no gap. In fact, what I meant was that is because I always wanted to build something. So maybe in my part time I can build something. Weekends, weeknights I can build something. So I built few things, and they were really cool. What learning was there till you're full time into it, till you are actually you've jumped into the pool fully. You really can't build business. You can build cool stuff, right? But and yeah, people will use it, and it'll be really cool. 3-4 things I did in between. They were never going to be businesses essentially because you're not risk your life for it. You're just so comfortable between you're building stuff, but you're in a job. So I think realization was that if you really have to do it, you really have to do it full time, whether it's a investor or no investor. You have to take the plunge, leave the job, and then go raise money essentially. Right.
Okay, so matlab, for Vychorus, the products really was a direct competitor of Cisco, and you beat them
multiple times over. In fact, not just Cisco. We had Cisco displaced actually. We were like 10x or 20x more performance. Literally, we used to have a slide. We used to show a rack of
10x and
Cisco
20x.
boxes.
Wow. Okay.
I think it was 20x. Rack of Cisco boxes, and we'll have one pizza box, and we'll say, okay, buy these rack of systems and buy our system, right? Yeah, I think, and we used to compete against.
And you were selling physical hardwares at that time?
Yeah, that's why it was a very, very, very system and complex project. We're building our own hardware boards, our chassis, our system software, interfaces with all the base stations. It was one of the first earliest 4G packet core based on DPI and all that integrated into one place, right? It was a packet gateway. In WiMAX, they used to call it, ASN, and there were different names to it, but it was essentially a 4G packet core technology. It was a extremely intensive hardware design and software design system play, and used to sell to a lot of telcos. A very, very technical kind of a project. But clearly, we outperformed at that time. Those companies existed like Nortel, and you had Alcatel-Lucent. Alcatel-Lucent all used to OEM our platform. They used to actually sell our platform. So many of these companies we were outperforming, and this was like a small group of like 100, 150 people, maybe 200 people max, who were going after some really big players. And the company became, in the US, one of the first 4G networks got deployed on this platform, right? In LA, the very first 4G networks actually deployed. We kind of helped put that up in there. So it was very gratifying to the team. That was the first project.
Okay. So then you go on selling this project. I mean, let's talk about this one. Pakistan में generally या batch जब brought up हुआ हूँ, when you talk about business चलता है, फिर बच्चे को transfer होता है, फिर वो थोड़ा खराब करता है, फिर पोते को transfer होता है, and all that. But I never think about selling it and build something else. So again, who set your brain about this one? Okay, let's sell this one. Let's make something else. Why you sell it?
Yeah, I think so technology business is very different than regular. If I was building a soap factory, it will be a different story because soap factory, it keeps creating soap, and if somebody keeps buying it, you keep going. Technology businesses are about scale. They about continuous innovation. If you stand still and you're not evolving, you'll be gone.
Nokia?
It's a matter of 1 or 2 years, right? So you actually keep evolving.
Like
and
Nokia?
Then you also look at any company, many companies, right? Where is Nortel? Where is Motorola? I mean, these are
Blueberry.
icons. Yeah, Blueberry, BlackBerry. Yeah, these are iconic companies, right? These are icons, and they disappeared because they just could not innovate fast enough, right? So in technology companies, you actually have to also see that in the ecosystem how this is going to play, and in this ecosystem where you can actually attach with something else if it's going to grow. So we didn't really actually went out to actually sell Vychorus. Few players came to us and say, if we combine the forces, it'll be actually much better because this is going to combine kind of an effort. And that's the way it played out, essentially. Basically, we felt that if these, with the Tel Labs, they actually had, their own system technology. They didn't have packet code. They wanted to grow, and we wanted a much bigger market, kind of a platform. And we thought if we combine the forces, we can actually go places. And that was primarily the reason.
Okay, I tell you my experience ke how I learned about this one. मेरा एक friend तो नहीं, लेकिन एक mentors थे. His name was Yanis. He was from Greece, and he was a technologist about drones. He ended up selling his company to somebody in Israel, and he was telling me that this was one of the top companies in the drone facility and all that. But मैंने कहा, why you sell it actually? He said, I'm good in building things, not keeping it. So he also knew कि भाई I'm good in building things. Let me build another business. So I'm good business builder, but not कि sustainability के साथ चल सके ऐसा. So ये भी इस तरह का mindset होता है कि maybe I'm very good in building stuff, but maybe sustainability it's not there.
Not just that. I think you look at if you build something, how much value can you create if you attach to a platform. So there is a small company has a reach, because technology companies are successful कि उनकी global reach में हर जगह लगना शुरू है. अगर Vicorus gets deployed just not in North America, not just in Sprint's own or Clearwire's own network, can it, you go to a platform company, can it go global very quickly? Because remember, the mindset is creating value, right? If you've created something useful, can it benefit the globe at the globe level, right? So a lot of transactions you will see actually happen with that mindset कि बना लिया, अब इसको अगर ये लग गया दुनिया में भर में, इसका benefit क्या होगा? And then you can scale the business. I think once you come to Elastic, I'll share the same story. The way it grows if you attach to the right platform, it goes like a wildfire, because instead of having, few places and, few places where there's massive projects going on, you can actually all of a sudden be into hundreds and hundreds of different deployments simultaneously because there's a platform out there.
Do you think it's a mindset कि पाकिस्तान में आप जब सोचते हैं तो बस गुलशन इकबाल का बिजनेस है तो गुलशन इकबाल में स्टार्ट करना है और वहीं पे फैला दूंगा या कराची में फैला दूंगा, लेकिन जब भी अमेरिकन स्टार्टअप्स की बात होता है तो दे आर टॉकिंग अबाउट ग्लोब. इज इट अ माइंडसेट डिफरेंस? यू थिंक यू बिलीव इन दैट, या आपको लग रहा है कि अभी चेंजेस आना शुरू हो गई हैं?
आई थिंक डिपेंड करता है कि आप कर क्या रहे हैं, राइट? सो बाज़ दफ़ा आप टेक्नोलॉजी ऐसी बनाते हैं जो लोकल इकोसिस्टम के लिए बनी है, और उसको लोकल इसमें रख के नहीं कर, there's nothing bad with it कि आपने उसको कस्टमाइज ऐसे किया कि आपका कंपेटिटिव एडवांटेज ही हुआ है कि उस लोकल इकोसिस्टम में दूसरे लोग बाहर से आके आपसे compete नहीं कर सकते, बिकॉज यू अंडरस्टैंड the environment, understand the ecosystem, understand the culture, and whatnot, and you've customized it for it. Often consumer companies are like that. जैसे local consumer companies होंगी क्योंकि consumer को अच्छी तरह समझते हैं और उनकी preferences को अच्छी तरह समझते हैं, तो global companies आके वहाँ पे consumer side पे influence करना problem होता है, right? And of course that's why you see local consumer companies can thrive. Like if you're building a fundamental technology company, jisme it's not really about the culture, you're enabling somebody to give service to a consumer or to a business. There, you can actually scale businesses, massively globally, very, very quickly, right? Now, of course, I'm generalizing it. There are a lot of exceptions to what I just said. But in the US, you will see that if you build something innovative and it has wide applicability, day one you're thinking the globe. From day one you're actually thinking the globe, right?
Okay. Elastica पे आते हैं sir. So Vicorus start किया, you build it up and then you sell it, but you were there with I believe Tel Labs for a while.
Tel Labs. Sure.
Yeah, Tel Labs, yes. And afterwards you jumped it again towards Elastica. So what was the idea behind it? Or meanwhile, I believe in the same time period you went to Harvard Business School as well. So what was in your mind at that time कि भाई अभी business करना है, so you can still put your time and efforts on business, but again you went to a business school to learn something new. So why you went to the business school, whereas like you see that most of the technological company या जिसके startups लेके चले होते हैं companies में इस level पे चले आते हैं, so they don't go towards these schools. So why you went to a business school at that time?
Yeah, so I think you want to continue to, when you're doing a startup of your own, you're learning a lot, unquestionably. You learn a hell lot, possible. But you also want to see, okay, what is the other learnings that others have, which maybe I acquired. It's kind of a curiosity about the unknown. Like, what do I don't know about, businesses, which I have learned, but it's learning from one experience of one company. And how do people think from different companies? And in Harvard Business School and other places, they actually have a very much of a case study oriented system. And this program was very special because this program wasn't like 2-year program. It was 2-month roughly program in which they bring the CEOs and the presidents and senior executives of very large companies, and they put them together for about 2 months, 6 weeks or 2 months, and then you essentially learning on. It's a very compressed, very intense kind of a curriculum, and I think that kind of attracted me to say, look, I didn't want to do an MBA. I joined IBA after NED. People probably don't know that, but I soon realized there's a lot of common sense in here, and teaching common sense. You're arrogant a little bit. You're coming out of engineering school, and you think you're the smartest kid on the block, and you say, like, MBA is not for me. So I left MBA after 1 semester. This is just like a lot of common sense. But then when you go to the grind, you realize maybe there are things that you want to learn, and that fear of kind of unknown. I said, okay, let's go to school and see. It is like a couple of months of investment, and then we'll see. It was a good experience. It also, you need a break in between, and break instead of sitting home, you could go to school. Right?
Okay. Just a question add karunga, sir. So people say that the same role the golf plays also is done in the business school. Is it? You went there for, or maybe some people go there for making connections, like they play in golf or in the business school. Is it? Is it factual, or maybe it's there? Yani? You can still
You
take
build you
advantage.
certainly build some amazing people show up there, like really amazing. More than the relationship building, which is important, there is a learning, travel learning that you actually have, how people think, how people approach things. I think that learning is actually because you're living with them. You have to live on campus, and you have to live in a group kind of a setting together. So they make sure that you're actually building relationship. You're in one place, living together, away from your family completely. So I think it certainly has some relationship building advantage, but more, I would say, travel learning kind of an advantage
Okay.
beyond just learning from teacher.
Okay, sir. So let's move towards Elastica, sir. So you graduated as an electrical engineer, then you did masters, where you worked in some jobs, then you build up a technology company which is related to telecom, and then Elastica, which is related to software and security platform. मतलब एक कह नहीं सकते कि आपने सिर्फ एक टेक्नोलॉजी पे वर्क किया है. You continuously improving and thinking about technology. So when you built Elastica, I mean, like, you were at a level that just you think about that, okay, I have to make this thing and I will do it by myself, or it was like, okay, I have to make this thing, I will hire people and put team under it, and let's make this one. So जब आपने Elastica बनाई, so you were that level already कि yes, I want to make this thing a business. Let me do it. Let me hire the people, and let's start with this one.
I think no different than Vicorous, I would say, in
Okay.
that sense. And look, you cannot build anything without talented team members, right? And frankly, credit of building Vicorous and Elastica goes to those people as much as to me, right? So it's not just me at all. I simply happen to be kind of a cheerleader for a lot of people. So talented people existed in both places, unquestionable. And same for Elastica. Elastica, the thesis there was that I'll draw a contrast. I think thesis in Vicorous was that the very first pitch I had was like, of course, there was no Apple phone. That what if the internet would be in your pocket, right? Because I was doing wireless before it was fixed wireless. So the thought process was there, what needs to be done to actually take this high-speed internet, and it should be in people's pockets, right? It should be in cars and everywhere. And that was the thesis of Vicorous. Change, what the change is going to look like. Elastica thesis was that as people are going to cloud, people are going to go SaaS applications. The thesis is there. This is 2011, remember? There was not much of a cloud. There was not much of a SaaS application, with few. But the thesis was the whole world is going to go SaaS and cloud. And the way the security exists today is going to be upside down. because nobody's going to be inside the company, maybe not working from inside the company. Neither it is going to be that your data inside the company. Whole security around perimeter of the company is going to be looking like useless. And that was really my first slide. The world today, the world where it's going, and which means the security infrastructure that exists on premise, you may still have it, but it's going to be more and more and more useless, right? Because that's where the world is going. That was the thesis of Elastica. Certainly, it had genesis of whatever deep packet inspection and all these things that we were doing in Vicors. The linkage was there that we could, initially that's the way it started, that you could inspect the traffic and you can actually build a perimeter around these SaaS applications and you can control the access, build a new kind of security layer around the cloud infrastructure. Of course, it evolved significantly from there, but that was the connection, and that was also where the world was going, and that's what we kind of latched on to build something.
So
and
at that time, you were the pioneer of this technology, maybe, or sense of security, or there were other company at the time as well?
No,
You were one
actually,
of the
this category,
early birds?
it was definitely, it was, I would say, probably the first company, or maybe a couple of, in Valley, you'll see, hard to tell, when in a time frame of couple of months, you'll have multiple companies that will come out, and a lot of smart people who are thinking the similar problem. They're seeing the problem first, and then trying to figure the solution. So certainly the way, at the end, what we ended up creating as a category, first 2 years when we'll go talk to the buyers, they will kind of stare at us like, why do you think it's going to be SaaS? And why do you think we're going to rely on you guys or as a startup to actually be securing my SaaS application, which is already very risky? But within 2 years, this became the hottest thing in security landscape. The CASB became a category, and along us and a couple of other companies kind of helped define it. And it became literally the hottest thing. Gartner would put this, the number one need of security is actually CASB, right? And the company actually thrived a lot. The company did innovate, built a platform which was very, very innovative platform. Became number one, in Forrester reviews. Became leader in Gartner. The business actually essentially was driven by not just the hottest category. You're the hottest company in the category, one of the hottest companies in the category, not the only one, right? Of course. So I think that really helped Elastica grow in a very different way. And frankly, it continues to grow. Whether I'm there or not, that business continues to really rock even till today.
ओके तो सर बिकॉज सिक्योरिटी की बात करें तो पहले आप ह्यूमन फिजिकल बात करते हैं कि भाई सिक्योरिटी होनी चाहिए व्हेन यू गोइंग टुवर्ड्स द वर्चुअल वर्ल्ड so you also need security for that one. Maybe in your MBA, maybe you have learned about this one in the Maslow's pyramid, it's called. Okay, there is food and all that, and then there is security. So maybe that time the people were ready that okay, virtual world ko bhi security ki requirement hai. So you can say that the time was right for you at that time, because business के लिए सबसे essential चीज जो कही जाती है, that is about time, right? So do you think that was the reason?
100%.
Time and security?
100%. If our timing was off, or if adoption of cloud applications didn't happen, right, we would be nowhere, right? So the thesis panned out. The thesis panned out that the cloud applications will be taken off. I also have to say, even for Vicors, timing panned out. Our thesis was that the world is going to go to internet, wants to go to internet in a mobile fashion, and they will need amazing performance and capacity, right? That was the thesis. Otherwise, we have no reason to. We're not building anything new otherwise, right? Otherwise, we're not creating anything new value. And when 2007, 2008 hit, this thing showed up, right?
2007,
And
yes. And
2007,
iPhone.
right?
Yeah.
And then it became popular in 2008, and then it took off after that.
Yeah.
And before that, when you used to tell you performance and all that people would say, look, I have a BlackBerry, I have email. Like, why would I need more performance, right? You have performance, which is 20 times more than Cisco, but I just do email on it. I can't imagine anything more. And we used to say, no. Your computer will be in your pocket. And it'll say, where is it, right? And this thing showed up, right? And changed again. Because all of a sudden, it was all about content consumption on mobile networks, right? And Vicodus was sitting right there with the high performance and controls on applications, essentially, right? Because deep packet inspection was there. So timing is everything.
So it
You
happened
cannot be
with you
told.
with Vicodus also, and then it happened with you in Elastica also.
We got absolutely lucky that our initial thesis worked. That this is where the world is going. If the world didn't go there or went there late, we'll be off. We would have been off by big margin, right?
Okay, fine, sir. So, sir, again, same method you adopted, Elastica, you sold it to Blue Coat, and then you worked with Blue Coat for a while, and then Blue Coat was took over by Symantec. It was like this. So again,
That's
same
exactly
mentality
right.
that let's sell it or let's make it like global, or let's have like more, take it to a bigger level.
Adoption.
That was the reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Primary adoption. Right? I think the thesis. So Vicor Elastica, I think is probably well known. Is it had multiple acquisition offers, not one. Like every 6-8 months, there'll be somebody saying, "Okay, we're going to acquire it." Okay, fine, but we're not interested. Including some big brand names. Like Elastica used to be on the global price list of Cisco. Like Cisco used to sell our product, right? It's a big deal because Cisco doesn't, even their own products take a while to actually get on the global price list, right? So there, I think Blue Coat was a company which actually had the aspiration to go public, and they needed this thing. They had a very strong baseline of on-premise security technologies and proxies. They said, if you combine forces, we can go public. And they knew without cloud story, they cannot go public, right?
So you
So
went
we
public with
merged.
Blue Coat?
We
You
filed
went
to go
public
public.
with, okay.
Yeah, we filed to go
Okay.
public together.
Okay.
So S1 we filed, we were going public in a week, and then offer came from Symantec for about, for close to $5 billion to actually, so easy decision perhaps at that time.
Okay.
But also the important part was that the management team of Blue Coat would take over Symantec. Like it was
Okay.
like literally a flip of all the management team of Symantec will go, most of it, and the management team of Blue Coat will become the management team of Symantec, right? So we kind of took over. The CEO of Blue Coat took over there. I ran cloud security business there.
Okay. Okay, sir. So one question here, sir. आप बात करते हैं Vicodus and Symantec की. Did you open any back office in Pakistan, or did you had any branch in Pakistan, maybe for outsourcing your talent or catching up with the talent from Pakistan? Did you invest back in Pakistan, or did you try to sell your product in Pakistan?
Anytime that I have done business, all the startups, I always had actually development center in Pakistan, right? Always.
Okay.
Right?
In Karachi?
In Karachi, yes.
Okay.
And even today, we have a sizable presence in Karachi with Securiti.AI. We have a sizable presence there, and we had we had offices other places also. Again, it's all about global talent. We have offices in India, we have offices and amazing talent. Both places actually exist, and amazing collaboration. Actually, you'll be surprised how much collaboration actually happens there. Beyond the political kind of a narrative, when you put talented people together and their focus is on building things, there's no political narrative in there at that time, right? So yeah, we had offices in India, we have offices in Pakistan, office in Silicon Valley, and plenty of other places around the globe. Yeah.
Okay. Second question from my side in this one is specifically Vicodus and Elastica. How you were able to sell your business? It was something you want to share with the people who are already having a business. Okay, what need to be taken care that when you are selling your own business, how to create you are already creating value through your own business. That's why it's sellable. But still, when you're going towards negotiations and all that, so what tips you want to give it to all the other engineers here now today? Need to be taken care.
Yeah, I think the most important part is what is the synergy with the other business, right? Because first of all, if you're trying to sell your business, you're already in trouble, right? Because it means there is some problem, right? So you have to make your business not to sell, right? Because you have to make your business to actually for somebody else. If you can crave for it, that's fine. But if you actually building in a way that you want to sell it, it means you have something wrong in somewhere because you're not focused on creating value. So I think if you build with the mindset that this is going to simply create value and this is going to grow and this is going to, I'm not here to just kind of build to sell. ironically speaking, more people want to buy it, right? Because you're not in that mindset. And let's say if you do consider some offers that come in, you have to understand synergy, because other party who is interested in buying your business, they're not buying in just because they want to collect some assets. They want to see how their business is going to grow. Not grow means 1 + 1 is equal to 2. What is 1 + 1 is equal to 5 or 4? How's it going to look like, right? Because if they have a platform, a large company, can they plug in with something else? And all of a sudden, your revenue can multiply by 10x, right? Because all of a sudden, you're going to grow like wildfire, right? Because,
ठीक है सर.
and that thesis has to be there.
ओके, लेट्स मूव फॉरवर्ड, क्योंकि सर अभी काफी सारे टॉपिक्स रहते हैं और कमेंट्स भी ऐसे आ रहे हैं जैसे मैं अभी तक इनसे सवाल नहीं ले पाया हूँ. उनसे सवालात भी लेने हैं मैंने इनसे सारे. तो लेट्स मूव फॉरवर्ड टू द नेक्स्ट टॉपिक. It's about being a venture advisor. You started your company, then you were pitching at that time to the ventures maybe, or maybe some angel and investors and all that. And then it's not about one time, it's about two times. So meanwhile, you become an advisor for a fund as well. क्या टिप देना चाहेंगे टू द स्टार्टअप्स करंटली जो कि काम कर रहे हैं, मे बी इलेक्ट्रिकल इंजीनियरिंग, मे बी कंप्यूटर साइंस इंजीनियरिंग, और व्हाटसएवर, मे बी इन पाकिस्तान और अराउंड द वर्ल्ड, वेयर एवर. एडवाइजर या वेंचर कैपिटलिस्ट क्या देखता है टू इन्वेस्ट in any business? Is it about the person, or is it about the idea? What is it about?
I think not one thing, of course. First, they understand, is there a need? Right. So most times they will either look at, is there a fundamental need of what you're trying to solve, right? Which means market, which means timing, which means size of the market. Because if that is not interesting, nothing else matters, right? I mean, because what you're trying to solve is probably not very interesting business, right?
A sellable idea, sellable need?
No, not sellable. Fundamentally, actually a need, whether it's sellable or not. Actually, fundamentally, you're solving. Is it a nice to have, or is it a must have? If it's a must have, it's great. If it's not a must have, then a lot of people will not be interested in it. Nice to have ideas don't go very well, right? So, secondly, or maybe firstly, depending on which VC you're talking to, is the people. Because at the end, maybe if it's the right people, they will adapt, they will learn, they'll adapt. So a lot of times VCs will also just fund based on people, their competence and their comfort level, to understand that these people will be able to crack this problem, or they will be able to adapt and evolve very, very quickly if the market changes, right? I think these two things are more fundamentals, team and the people. And then, of course, nuances come along, like if you can build it and somebody else can build it, why yours is going to be better, right? So what secret sauce do you have? And this secret sauce could be in technology, could be in the business, could be in your go-to-market, like, disruptive go-to-market strategy, like whatever it is. They want to understand that why you and why yours technology is going to be better, right? So I think that's really the fundamentally, I would say, and of course there are a variety of many other things. But fundamentally, these are three legs of the stool that the decision's going to stand on.
So do you currently invest like as an individual investor, maybe startups in Pakistan, or is it through the Mayfield Fund only?
I do invest, certainly, through funds, through Mayfield Fund and other funds, few other funds. Actually, they're very good funds. But I also do, privately, personally, actually invest, but I don't do it that much because it takes time and effort, and you have to focus on things, right? You can't really be diluting or.
Have you invested anything in Pakistan? Any startup in Pakistan, or you think to do maybe in the future?
I've invested in funds in Pakistan, which are investing in other companies. Yeah.
Okay.
Because I cannot do diligence, right? I cannot do diligence there myself. So the funds are there investing in.
Okay. Let's move on. Your current company, Securiti.AI. Recently, we read about it that you started in 2018. Then you have the initial funding of like $31 million as a Series A, and then in February, I believe this year, you got another $50 million for this one. So, I mean, for you, it looks like very easy. Maybe you're already in a fund advisor and all that. But what if you're not like grown up like this? I mean, like how you are able to achieve this this amount of money that you got from the other investors? Is it for you very easy, or it's sometimes getting challenging as well for yourself?
I think the same three principles apply. If you're not working on something which is needed everywhere, it's a must-have. Or if your team that you're building or team that you have is not really reputable, and they cannot trust or believe in the team, or the market size and all is not kind of jiving together, anybody would have problem, including myself, right? So luckily we have an amazing team, and people see it through. Look, we were running the cloud security business of Symantec, and that was the hottest thing, literally within the largest cybersecurity company on the planet, right? That was the thing. Every quarter company will talk about it publicly, that how this business is actually doing. So having basically collectively us as a team, having a track record, not just me, but the entire team, I think they really helped. And then the areas that we picked upon, they were top of mind. Privacy and security, all that was actually top of mind. So I think both of that actually helped. And plus, these are investors I've worked with before, at least one of them. So that put the initial money. So once you've established certain level of comfort and trust and all that, I think people can write checks very quickly, right? There's no secret sauce in there. I think a bit of a track record of the team, the right ideas, and comfort level of the VCs, you're able to raise money. Plus, you have to also say that, look, there were times money was easier to raise, not easy, but easier. Those times probably going to change moving forward, right? Because of COVID-19 and economies of the globe are going to take a hit. It's just not a matter of, it's a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
Okay, sir. So let's move towards questions, further questions. और मैं comments काफी आ रहे हैं कि मैं सवाल नहीं ले रहा from the audience. I will start taking it now.
Sure.
So the first one from the audience. All right. To start up my entrepreneurship career, is it must for me to take some degree, MS from US, and then go for a startup there, or one can directly go for a startup and no degree is needed? और recently मेरे ख्याल से ट्रम्प ने भी इसको किया है कि अब शायद applications के लिए degrees are not required, maybe just skills are required. So changing world also, maybe. Just want to comment.
I think it really depends on what you're trying to do. Depends on, look, if there's any consumer ideas, you don't need to go to master's degree and do it. Like, look, plenty of consumer ideas you can actually do very quickly out of your, as long as you have the skill set that you establish. But I do have to say that learning by going into a company where, especially if you join a startup, where you can see how startups are built, you can see how their technology is built and teams work together and how they take into market, how they market it, how they sow, how the sales happen. You will be a lot more prepared. Now, it could be there are people who are geniuses out there who can just go out of school and even drop out and then just go build amazing businesses, right? So it really depends on what you're trying to do and how much you're tuned into it. If you're a master of something and you're world-class master of something, you don't need an MS degree to go build a business in that thing that you master on. You can just go ahead and go do it. But in certain cases, it's good to go through the grind of learning in an environment. I would say go join a startup, and they'll give you the breeding ground of learning everything.
Okay, let's take the next question. Kindly guide me. I am at the start of my entrepreneurship career. What is better, starting tech startup in Pakistan or in US, considering several pros and cons? Kindly discuss this.
It depends on where you are, right? So if you are in Pakistan already, then of course that's probably going to, you can, if you would immediately want to start, you can start there. And pick the ideas that, again, same thing. It's a must-have, the market timing is right, you have the skill set, your team has the skill set, and you can differentiate your solution. All the things I think apply, right? But if you have the opportunity to come to US and it's a global play or maybe more tuned to US markets, certainly you should come to US, and then go through that path. I would simply say if your aspiration are to build something global, and something to the point that global things generally get done when nobody has done it, right? Because if somebody's already done it, you really can't do it because it's already been done. So global plays, if you want to do, then US is a great market. If you want to do focus on Pakistani market, then start, or MENA market or regional markets like MENA market. If you want to cover, you can still do it from Pakistan.
Okay. Let's take another question. What are the future tech startups the world or US is inspiring for? Kindly discuss this details, please. You see something
I
different
think,
now, specifically post-COVID stuff?
yeah, definitely. Post-COVID stuff, people are realizing that the way we're going to work together, work and live is going to be different, right? Working from home, what tech stack needs to be enabled to actually work from home. I think that's right now the hottest topic here. That's number one. And then in the biosciences and in genetics, there's going to be a lot of innovation because the world cannot take this kind of a pause button on the whole planet, essentially, right? So, which means there's going to be a lot of investment going in the bio side of things. In healthcare, is going to be a lot of investment going in because the way the healthcare system works is still very archaic. It's like still 100 years back, it was probably the same. You used to go to a hospital, do the same grind. I mean, with all the technologies, it shouldn't be like that. So I do think it actually is a big push towards innovation that already is on the way because of COVID-19, right? And you will
Okay.
see the companies which will have to take an inspiration out of actually COVID-19 itself.
ओके सो और ऑडियंस से स्पेसिफिकली मैं कहूँगा कि अभी मैं क्वेश्चंस ले रहा हूँ तो जिन्होंने पहले भी क्वेश्चंस किए थे प्लीज़ अभी दोबारा इसको टाइप करके मैसेज कर दें क्योंकि वो फिर फौरन मेरे सामने स्क्रीन में आ जाएगा सो दिस इज द टाइम एक्चुअली दैट यू कमेंट एंड आस्क लेट्स मूव फॉरवर्ड सर अनदर क्वेश्चन which business opportunities will you pursue in Pakistan if you have to?
In Pakistan, I think the fundamentally that benefits people, right? Healthcare, education, right? Infrastructure. In terms of infrastructure, what I mean by that is how.
But are you selling any
famous.
product of Securiti.AI in Pakistan still, or
not yet? Not yet. I think our current
only
products are very
in
much.
US? Only in US
We are
so
selling
far?
in US and other markets
Maybe
in
Middle
South
East?
America, Middle East. We just started.
Okay.
Europe, Australia, and some wherever there's regulation about privacy. In Pakistan, there's not much of regulation there right now. When it comes there, then I think it'll be important. Now in Pakistan, I would say these are fundamental game changers. How education is done and how healthcare is done, how e-commerce is done, and already you will see there's a lot of interesting companies actually getting built in Pakistan right now.
Okay. Another question. Are you working on a new startup for yourself already?
I am. That's the Securiti.AI.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So maybe it's in stealth mode so far.
No,
Okay.
the Securiti.AI is the company. It's pretty public. It is a website,
Okay.
Securiti.AI.
Okay. Okay. Will you be playing any role in tech city setup behind initiated at NED? I think they're planning to build some buildings or something. It's coming up.
Yeah, I mean, given the opportunity, certainly. I think beyond just building which is very important, building the infrastructure and the buildings and so forth, how do you bring basically the most modern knowledge and connections and the technology and because at the end what we've learned is people can learn if they have access to the right content from anywhere. They can be sitting home and learning essentially, right?
Yeah.
I mean, of course you need a one place where you can collaborate. So I think we have to pay attention to like what kind of things will help people learn and grow, what kind of content we can provide them, what kind of tech and labs. I think that one is equally important, and certainly there's a lot of good work with the VCSR and all they're actually doing, and I do meet with them, I do talk to them, so certainly this is a great initiative.
Okay, let's take another question, sir. Would you suggest to young and tech entrepreneurs for successfully selling? What 3 things are crucial for building a credible sales organization for a startup? It's talking about more towards the
Yeah.
organization. Yeah, if
Oh
you are
yeah,
able
I mean
to
it
sell
means
it good.
sales.
Yeah,
Without that there's no business, right?
yeah,
If you just build technology and nobody knows about it and nobody adopts it and nobody benefits from it, then it's a science lab experiment, right? Then yes, maybe it should go in a lab, and somebody should take it and commercialize it, right? So it is extremely important to have the world understand what you have built, which means super clear message that how it's going to benefit some prospective buyer and their willingness to actually pay for it, and then adopt it, right? Which requires not, the whole go-to-market not just sales, but marketing and product marketing and demand gen, and the whole funnel of things that actually happen there, and then the sales org, which is again a next level of actually funnel that happens there, and then support. You can't just sell and walk away. You have to sell and support it, and you have to provide customer success. That is what you sometimes just need to go somewhere to actually learn how that is actually done. There's no business without it.
Okay, and one more very nice question actually. What would be your advice for work-life balance when it comes to young entrepreneurs starting or planning to start? मतलब पहले तो इसमें कहा जाता है कि स्टार्टअप किया तो बस लगे रहो 24 घंटे उसमें काम. So but ऐसा ही है या फिर work-life balance is, how do you balance, or how you would advise?
There is no work-life balance. If you're if you're really passionate about something, you will be spending 16, 18 hours. There's just no balance. I mean, look, either you do it at a world-class level or you just don't do it, right? For instance, if you go talk to some top-level sportsmen, look at the day they spend. They're probably playing that game, 12 hours a day. They're waking up early, they're having the right food, and they have a regimen. And that's why they excel in those places, because you're fully committed, right? So I think if you really wanted to be building a startup and all, the work-life balance, the way it's
You have
perceived,
to forget about it. Yeah.
The way it's perceived, that you have to be a 9-to-5 job, and then the rest you're not checking your forget it. That's not going to happen. If you do that, this is not the right thing. I mean, a lot of times this is not going to be the right thing. You have to go through the grind. Once you reach a point where you have a team and there is process and system, perhaps you can actually get to a point. But early days, just no way.
Okay. Somebody's just sent me a message on the messenger. I mean, we should be posting in the comments, but let me ask. It's an interesting question. What would you suggest to your younger self in NED, if you have to?
Yeah. I think it's a great question, actually.
I mean, this would be relevant for all the guys who are already in university.
Yeah, I think you will probably take more chances. NED, because you're in the prime of your, in some ways, in your creativity in some ways, and you're fearless in some ways. I think being more fearless while you're there, not thinking too much about career paths and all that. Even more fearless. I do have to say that I didn't care too much about the career paths even while at NED, and frankly, probably even committing even more to building new stuff while at NED. Although we built few things, but I think that would be my advice. This is the time of your life where you actually have the right people around you. Other thing I would suggest is relationships. If you're trying to build something, you're going to find amazing people there, right? And building the right relationships there. Truly, not just for the sake of some benefit, not transactional, but truly good relationships actually building there, right? I think it's going to be lifelong. For instance, the NED batch that we have, we've built some amazing relationships, and they're lifelong. They're absolutely lifelong, and they're not transactional. They're not just because somebody's going to benefit me on some way. They're amazing, good friends. I think that's what I would say. Learn as much as you can, build the relationships, have fun, of course, along the way, and start early in terms of building one. I wish we had this NIC. I do have to say, if we did have this NIC and all those things at that time, some of the kids in my batch would have been even further along, like even doing much more amazing things.
Surely, sir. So I'll not take any further questions from the audience. I have just last question of mine, and then we'll try to wrap it up. Already we are above time. Imran Khan came to USA last year, and you met him. What was the discussion about in your delegation with him, specifically about technology in Pakistan and all that? And what was the discussion? What was the advices that you guys gave to Imran Khan? Just walk us through. I mean, when you talk about this executive of our country, I mean, like, what kind of discussion is happening?
Yeah, I think he was very focused on, using technology, and that's why he was invited to actually have some technologists come and meet to improve the systems, the critical areas, generally he was interested in actually understanding that. He was very engaged, very involved in the conversation. And the areas which were very interesting were, of course, goes back to, again, same thing, healthcare, education, fundamentally, these two things, infrastructure, which includes 5G technologies, because if you connect, we are one of the most populous countries and some of the most gifted brains, in the whole Southeast Asia and South Asia. So I think that fundamentally that was the focus of what are the things that need to be done to actually create that. And then, of course, e-commerce was actually a very important topic, because you want to make sure that people are a part of the economy. They're not kind of outside the mainstream economy. They have the accounts and they are actually able to transact, they're able to receive money. They were the fundamental 4 or 5 major topics that he kind of was frankly advised upon in some ways. And then, of course, he's built kind of committees around it. And then new advisors have come along who are actually in Pakistan who's executing on those lines. Yeah.
Okay, sir. I believe that's all for today's session. And just request you कि अगर आप कोई last remarks दें towards हमारे जो भी alumni हैं जो who are listening to us now, or maybe बाद में stream देखेंगे उसको they will listen to it. Any advice that you want to give? Any golden words for the closing?
I mean, I don't have any golden words, but the way I believe it, I think my belief really is, as engineers, we actually have a responsibility to create value, build and create value and give to the society, right? Just like others are doing in the rest of the other countries, right? We do need to create examples where we create things that the world uses and benefits, right? Not just we consume from the rest of the world. We are the engineers and we are the Indians, right? It's one of the premier institutes out there within Pakistan, of course. And of course, it has a long way to go to actually get to, hopefully improve. But I think everything starts from yourself, right? What am I doing to actually make that contribution? Not just what NED is doing or the teachers are doing and what the system is doing. I think this needs to be taken to heart. Like, can we be creating world-class things, we being the creators?
Okay, thank you very much, sir, for joining us, and and for your time, sir. Really appreciate. And audience, we are now going to close it now. और आप please हमें feedback दीजिए. How was the session today? कमेंट कीजिए और बताइए कि हम लोग नेक्स्ट किसको इनवाइट कीजिए, उस के बारे में भी कमेंट कीजिए. और इंशाल्लाह ताला नेक्स्ट वीक आपसे फिर दोबारा बात होगी इस फोरम पे. थैंक यू वेरी मच.
Thank you so much. Thanks for hosting. Allah Hafiz.